You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Without further ado, the Dear Friends podcast. Dear friends, spill your woes to your musical family. Dear friends, they will take your questions and turn them into nuggets of wisdom and anecdotes in an otherwise cynical world. Dear friends.
Hi, I'm dear friend Emily.
I'm dear friend Christy.
And I'm dearest friend Jess, and welcome to Dear Friends, the write-in advice podcast for the musical minded.
Oh, my dears, my dear friends.
Oh my goodness, I love you both very, very much.
Love you too.
I don't know why, but I'm in a very, very cozy vibe today. It might have something to do with the question that we got written in by someone with a doctorate. This is one Dr. Dillamond who writes in asking, what are your favorite Stephen Schwartz musicals?
Ooh, are we gonna rate them? Like, do our usual rating system?
This will be our top 5 Stephen Schwartz musicals.
Well, that's going to be interesting because I may have some controversial rankings here.
Geppetto, number 1.
Is it Geppetto or My Son Pinocchio, the stage version?
I guess it depends. It's Geppetto in the movie, but
oh, Drew Carey all the way. Come on.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Gotta have the Wayne Brady and all that.
Oh come on, got Usher doing like
Usher.
The second-rate magic to do. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I kind of like it though. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like the Usher in that movie.
Yeah.
He's one of the better parts of that movie.
I think do all 3 of us have videos or episodes about Geppetto?
I
think we do.
I know Emily and Christy, you do. I've been saving that one. That's what I'm building up.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
Emily, why don't you start with your number 5? What's your number 5 Stephen Schwartz musical?
Okay. My number 5 Stephen Schwartz musical is Godspell. And I never really knew Godspell growing up. I wasn't like a church kid. I know it's big for like community church theater. I only knew like Day by Day really. And then I had to music direct a high school production, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And I really got to know the score because they were doing the revival version, which is incredibly difficult. And I had to do a lot of work paring it down for high schoolers. But I remember being like, this is good. This is good music. Like, I really like these songs. I really like the flexibility of the show that you can kind of make it your own and shape it to the cast that you have and the performers that you have and their skill set. I can't think of very many big musicals that do that. And I love that you can do it anywhere. You could do it in a black box. You could do it outside. You could do it in a Broadway house. And I think it's just kind of good. It has that nice, like kind of 70s vibe, 70s pop music vibe. And yeah, I just really like it a lot. It took me a while to get into it. And now that I know it and I know a lot of these songs, I'm like, this is a really good show. Yeah, my husband apparently did it back in the day too.
Oh,
I would kill to see footage of that. Yeah, there's
Who
pictures
was
of
he?
him. I'm pretty sure he was Jesus.
Oh, that's perfect.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I can
So-
see him doing that.
Totally. But yeah, Godspell, number 5 for me.
Heck yeah. Christy, what about you? What's your number 5?
Okay, I am probably going to get crap for ranking it this low, but Wicked.
That's fine. I would never give you crap for that.
Other people might, because it's a really good gateway show. I mean, obviously that was the millennial, early Gen Z. That was what they saw in the theaters and said, yes, this is awesome. I want more of this. And obviously it's fantastic for that. And it's got some really catchy stuff. I think, Defying Gravity is, one of those, great Act 1 closers.
It would work in a film version that would be nice and long. And
yes,
have
in an actual full film.
It.
Yeah, in an actual full film version, it would be a good closer it would be a good, high point for about the middle of the film. I'm not sure you could end a film with it and then continue the story in a sequel.
I know. Watch this movie break so many records though. Like I think the first one will do obscenely well, and then the second one will just lose a lot of good faith.
Yeah. It's but yeah, it's down this low, mostly because the lyrical work on it is interesting in places.
No, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Some weird rhymes and some weird Yeah,
there's some really
moving around of words.
Yeah,
how people normally speak in order to make a rhyme work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I kind of get that they're kind of doing this kind of weird Oz vocabulary slang, and that's fine. And some of it works, but then there's some of it like disgustedified, and I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what that would actually mean. Like definish, I like that because it's like, yeah, certainly, almost, maybe. I kind of like that, but there's some of it
What
like,
about
what?
swankified and
Swankified? Yeah, that's maybe.
Yeah,
it's
there's
that kind
a
of
lot
the pseudo Buffy speak that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, and then sometimes it's like, like, okay, it's obvious you just said terrible green blizzard because you were running it, you didn't have too many things to win.
I thought it was green lizard for the longest time because
So
I was
did
like,
I.
lizards are green.
Yeah.
So this makes sense. But
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, it's odds, maybe lizards fly there. I will say there is one line that a lot of people crap on, and I don't think that deserves it. And it's, there are bridges you don't know there are bridges you've crossed you don't know you've crossed until you've crossed. I think that
it's Diana. The people who will change the world are not the ones you think you'll change.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, it sounds kind of weird, but at the same time, I can see, Glinda, who is not used to having, complex thoughts and feelings about things. I can see her trying to, phrase it in that way. So yeah, that works for me. So yeah,
that is an argument for character. But then you've got Nessa, I have something to confess.
Nessa, yeah, that was. Yeah, I have
to confess something.
A reason why.
But yeah, like confess
Yeah, it is very tricky to do those rhymes over a phrase or even over a word, which he does a couple of times. Yeah. Like, your assent allows me to feel so parental, things like that. And again, sometimes it's just like, what did you do there?
What are you doing there?
What are you doing? So yeah, it's a great gateway show. I love that it sparked so many people's love for music theater. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to pull off this 2-movie thing, but there you have it.
I agree, because my number 5 is also Wicked.
Okay.
Wicked is, once again, everything that you said, but there are moments that like when it's live and you're watching it live, it's great. But I know that we talk a lot about community theater. I think that one of the reasons why this hasn't been given a theater license is because almost all of the magic will be gone from this as soon as like anyone else plays it outside of that, I think.
When it has to stand on just the book and the lyrics on its own, it's going to be really interesting.
Well, book lyrics, and you do need to have 2, top tier female leads, which is another good thing because there's not a whole lot of musicals that require that.
Yeah. I agree, but I just am imagining, like, I know Emily talks about this on her TikTok a lot, but those TikTok compilations of cringe are like student performances, and I can see those coming out where it's just like a mashup of like the Courtney Take Your Break from Legally Blonde of just that.
I mean, frankly, I would love to have a Wicked Junior because every year I have students say, let's do Wicked. And I go, we can't. And
right.
After, that show came out on Broadway in 2003.
Yeah. Something like that.
It's kind of like,
20 years now. Yeah.
Can we let kids do this show already? I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready to see little kids with little Elphaba witch hat.
And, they'll love it. Have high school kids, going around
simplify it. Yeah. I'm all for it.
One of those things where I see the producers are aware of the show shortcomings and realizing how much they would lose as soon as anyone tried to put the show on just on the backs of the book and score.
I mean, I think it's just because Wicked is always just a cash cow. It's like Phantom. Like, it's as long as they can make money.
Yeah, but even Phantoms has a high school production at this point. So
yeah, that took a minute too. Yeah, they were definitely not doing Phantom.
It was like well into 30 years before that happened. So 25.
Yeah, that's fair. But Wicked, not my favorite Schwartz musical. All right, Krista, you're next. Emily, you're next.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my next one is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I have not seen the stage version, but I remember viscerally, and I'm sure Christy is with me here, seeing that movie in the theaters when I was, in the 90s, and it blew my mind.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yes, that whole entire score is it's frankly like remarkable. I don't know how they got away with a lot of it. I guess they had to throw in that gargoyle song, but
yeah,
the opening is one of Disney's best, one of the best villain songs.
absolutely. The
I
underscore, I mean, that's obviously Alan Menken's wheelhouse, but the underscore is unbelievably amazing.
Yes. I never, I'm not a church going person. However, I sang in choirs my whole life. And a lot of what you sing in choirs in educational theater is like stuff in Latin and stuff, Dies Irae, stuff like that. And so I already had all that in my head. So being able to see that in a Disney movie was like, whoa, this is like the kind of heavy stuff. I'm singing 4-part harmonies in choir, and it just blew my mind. And I think Out There is a very good I Want song. When Jeff was on the cruise ship, he did the show called The Golden Mickeys, and he was an understudy for the guy playing Quasimodo. And one time he was like, I have to go run through this track. Do you want to come watch me do it? So I got to watch him unofficially play Quasimodo and sing it, and it was great.
Fun.
But yeah, I love that. Someday I'm sure I'll see the stage version. I feel like I know the stage version is a lot heavier. And
I'm going to go into that a little later in my list.
I had a feeling you guys
too.
would, so.
I might,
Yeah. But the Disney movie version, I think it's really good, and I think good lyricism from Schwartz. So.
All right, Christy, what about your number 4?
My number 4 is Godspell, actually. A lot of what Emily said, it's a very, good music. It's a very versatile show, which I think, allows you to, kind of say what you want with it. So, and it's, as far as, biblical musicals go, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, most of it is lifted, directly from the gospel text. I mean, I think the only thing really controversial you can say they do with it is that they double cast John the Baptist and Judas Iscariot, which I think is a very interesting thing. But yeah, it's got a lot of neat stuff. Day by Day, obviously. All for the Best is just like a really fun. The world is fucked, but let's try
dance.
to be happy anyway. Yeah, it's got that fun little counterpoint there, and some really just some really beautiful pieces.
Yeah,
and the movie is really interesting too. It's they obviously do it all around New York. I think my favorite part is when Jesus is arguing with the Pharisees, and they've kind of got like this weird found object sculpture puppet representing the religious authorities. I thought that was pretty cool. So,
can I tell a story about Godspell specifically? The movie. I might cut this out, but I did bring this up in our episode on Godspell on Musicals of Cheese. But when I first started looking at Godspell, it was very early YouTube days. All for the Best ends with them on the World Trade Center.
They are on the World Trade
dancing.
Center, which was like just built back then. So
yeah, it was in the process of being built, but I guess some edgy musical theater fan was like just posted All for the Best and then added 9/11 footage at the end.
Oh my god!
I remember that very vividly, being my first experiencing watching the song All for the Best, and then it cutting directly to a plane hitting.
Yeah. I shouldn't laugh at that.
I
mean, we're laughing up the absurdity of what happened.
It's kind of
that's funny. Like, I'm not sure if that's wrong or funny or both.
Maybe a little bit.
None of us created it, but
yeah.
That is my first experience of seeing All for the Best. Sorry, didn't mean to derail this.
No, that's
okay.
I love it. Okay.
All right. My number 4 is, where's my list here? It is Children of Eden. Have either of you looked into that show?
I have.
I know. I taught a lot of the
alert. It's also on my list. So.
Ooh. I just really, really love, this was actually given to me by a Patreon request from Leighton Ackles a few years ago from Musicals with Cheese, and I've kind of stuck around with the show. I just think it's very interesting. It's not like it is one-to-one Bible stories from like the Adam and Eve days all the way to Noah, and like how they constantly make the same mistakes, and how the only character with an arc is God, who is like this angry boyfriend figure.
More like angry dad, but
it just feels like he broke up with the world and he's just a little bitter about it. I think it's just really clever, and it's got some banger songs. Let There Be is an incredible number, especially when
Spark
Ken
of
Page sings
Creation,
it.
come on.
Mhm.
Spark of Creation, Lost in the Wilderness, all those
Mhm.
songs are like 10 out of 10 numbers. And some
Andrew
of
Lloyd
Stephen
Webber
Schwartz's
and
best.
Stephen Schwartz are our only guys who write biblical musicals.
Yeah, what the hell? Like, Stephen Schwartz stuck with it too. Like, he's like, no, I think this will be my bread and butter for a while.
Yeah, he does it well.
He does it better than Weber. I love Superstar, but Joseph, are you kidding me?
Yeah, well, I mean, Jesus Christ Superstar is so bleak in a lot of ways, whereas you
Yeah.
know, Gospel, which is the comparable one, is the
Yeah.
opposite. You know, there's sad
Mhm.
parts of it, but it's a lot more optimistic and fun,
Yes.
which I
Well,
like.
Children of Eden, check it out if you haven't already. All right, Emily, you're into her.
Okay, so my number 3 is Wicked. Okay, so I saw Wicked before it went to Broadway. The only time I've ever seen it on stage was at its pre-Broadway tryout at the Orpheum in San Francisco. And I was at UC Santa Cruz at the time. And I remember going up to see it. And this is before they had Joel Grey in it. This is when they had some different songs. Like instead of Dancing Through Life, it was like Raise the Roof or something like that.
Raise the Oz roof.
It was something lame like that. And I remember at the time it blew my mind. Now every musical is kind of living in Wicked's shadow. You wouldn't have a lot of modern Broadway or the way a lot of modern girls are supposed to sing on Broadway without Wicked. But it holds a big nostalgia factor for me. Including its flaws. It is a great gateway musical. It's just, God, when you're like 21 and you're just that obsessed musical theater kid, a show like that just works so well. And then by the time it got to Broadway and became this big commercial venture where you could buy all this like merch and whatnot from it, I was kind of over it. But I do think there's a reason why it sticks around, why a lot of the songs are classics. I would love to see a nice tight movie version, but Universal needs a franchise very, very, very bad. So
apparently, yes.
Yeah, they really do.
What, the Minion movie aren't giving them all the money they need?
Jesus Christ,
you would think, yeah.
They're all over Universal too. Yeah, but I like Wicked. I think it's great. I like that it's a family musical. I like that you can go with your mom on Mother's Day or something.
Watch
and
them
have
at
a
the
nice
philosophy club to the movies.
Yeah. The other thing is I got really into the book before I read the book before I saw the show, because I was really into reading Gregory Maguire's books at the time. And I remember reading that book going, how are they gonna do this? And then I saw it. I was like, oh, they literally just changed the ending. They literally just changed the entire ending. All right. Like, nope, nope, it's all just a sneaky thing. In the books, it's like, no, yeah, water does kill her.
Water does kill her, yeah.
Yeah. And in the show,
although I guess maybe in the sequels she does come back. I haven't read any of them, but or maybe it's ambivalent.
It's kind of ambiguous, yeah. But I think overall it's a big mainstream money-making, big budget musical, but I think compared to a lot of them out there, it's one of the better ones. So
that's fair.
I like it. Yeah.
I like this and I like Wicked, to quote a strange loop.
Yes.
All right, Christy, you're up.
Okay, so my number 3 is actually Children of Eden. And I was actually like just because I thought I would be the only one who has this on there, but it's a fantastic show. I saw it at the Arvada Center, I guess probably about 10 or 15 years ago, and it was just incredible. I was kind of debating placement with this and Godspell, but I think this is kind of the more nuanced, biblically based musical, because yes, it is the creation, here's Cain and Abel, here's the flood, but the way they tell it and the way they interpret the actions of these figures is very interesting. And, this whole idea of, God, who they refer to as Father explicitly because, this is kind of this dysfunctional family relationship where, God wants everything, wants this perfect, family, perfect creation here, but the kids aren't always doing what he wants them to. And that's a very real parenting thing that a lot of, obviously a lot of parents still struggle with. So I really enjoy that. I love Stranger to the Rain. I love what's the Snake song, In Pursuit of Excellence. I really liked how they did the Snake with just like the multiple cast. So yeah,
it's things in Children of Eden. Not many people
yeah,
talk about it.
It's an amazing show. Check it out. If there is a local production near you, by all means, go see it. Yes.
I never hear of productions of it, but I feel like I've heard of college productions, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like it should be done more often. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
think there was gonna be like a revival recently, and then COVID hit. I remember Norm Lewis was attached. I think he was God.
Norm Lewis as father, I would beat down New York Dorks to say that.
Daddy, sorry, Daddy.
Sorry, Daddy, Norm.
Yeah, our Broadway Daddy, yeah.
Okay, so and it was announced in December of 2019 that it would play in the Arcada Theater in August of 2020, and that
didn't happen. If anybody anybody wants to pick that up, please do so.
Or just like I don't know, if you've got like kind of like if you're directing a high school musical and you've got maybe a smaller group and they're like a little more advanced, that might be a fun project for them, or a college production.
It is pretty there's probably I think maybe about 6 or 8 main characters, and it is double cast, like you have Adam plays Noah and then Eve plays his wife, and so on and so forth. A lot of
roles for women in that show, if I remember correctly. Like there's a couple good ones. Did I ever tell you guys that I saw Norm Lewis live a couple weeks ago?
Did you post about it? I feel like I
might have.
About it.
Either way, it was just an interesting thing, and I don't know if either of you remember Josh Young from the Jesus Christ Superstar revival a few years back. No. Apparently he lives in Michigan now, and he pulled him on to do the confrontation. I was like, wow, for a cabaret, he's just fucking doing the confrontation.
Yeah,
no one ever does that.
I love it.
I love it. With a piano and no one else. It was great.
Nice.
Either way, what is my number 3? Oh, Godspell. Yeah, Godspell's good. Can't top anyone else's comments on Godspell. I told my fun Godspell story, and we'll move on. All right, Emily, your turn. Number 2.
My number 2 is The Prince of Egypt.
Good one.
Cannot impart to you guys how obsessed I was with The Prince of Egypt. Again, there's a stage version that's happening, or that happened, but I don't really know.
It's bad.
Yeah, I don't really know it, but I love the movie so much. I think I showed it to my husband, I think just this year, because he had never really seen it, and he was kind of like, how have I never seen this? I was like, I know. It's just a great animated musical film. It has all the beats that an animated musical film should have. It's heavy. It takes things seriously, and the score, like the very first notes, I just thinking about it, or like the deliver us, like I get goosebumps when I think about it. I just think it's so good. And I've taught When You Believe to kids a million times.
Yeah.
Times.
One of the great uplifting anthems of all time.
And the Hebrew section, I know it too, because I've had to teach it so many times.
Adonai,
he go God. Yeah, it's so good. I just think it's a masterpiece of an animated film musical. From the way it looks and excuse me, from the acting and the characters, but like the score and the songs really what make it. And I can see it translated to the stage. A few years after that, I went and saw the 10 Commandments, the musical at the Kodak Center, starring Val Kilmer.
Oh, yes, I am familiar with it.
It was. I remember being like, Kilmer's playing Moses. He was Moses in the movie. This is gonna be great. And it was really bad. But
choices were made with that musical. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah. But The Prince of Egypt, the film, one of the best things Schwartz has ever done.
Hard to disagree with that. I do want to say that I am bummed that movie flopped, and then they basically said that since Shrek was our only hit, we're going to make 1,000 Shreks for the next 30 years.
Thanks, when DreamWorks was trying to figure out who they were.
Yeah, I am loving that we are seeing this, vindication from, the millennial generation. So, because you're right, it is a fantastic. I haven't watched it in years, but she's right. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. Obviously it's good to put on like Passover around that time of year in the spring. So
or Easter, if you don't want to watch Charlton Heston storming around in the 10 Commandments.
Or watch John Legend doing Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of things we could not be watching. All right, Christy, what's yours?
My number 2 is Pippin. Fantastic show, amazing metafictional stuff going on in there. I love, it's got a lot of fun, vaudeville type stuff. It's got, it's got probably one of the best, this character comes on, they do a great song, and then they leave for the rest of the performance.
Yeah.
In no time at all, it's, one of those really
So
great
good.
character numbers. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun and very interesting with the philosophy. This is another one that I first saw at the Arvada Center. And, it's like, oh yeah, this is really cool. And then it starts getting into the ending and I'm like, oh, wow. And then, at the end where they break everything down and then Theo comes back on and the players just start kind of creeping around him doing the magic to do motif. And I was like, mind blown. I mean, it was an incredible experience and still, one of my favorite experiences in live theater to this day. So, and the revival was amazing. They really leaned into the circus motif. Casting the leading player as a woman, I think, was a very good choice. I'd like to see more of that in the future. Obviously, Patina Miller, fantastic. And yeah, great ensemble show.
I just love that Charlotte Dumbois and Terrence Mann, who are married in real life, played the king and queen in that revival. Ugh.
Yeah.
Great roles for them.
Yeah, great ensemble piece. A lot of interesting things about life and ambition. And, maybe, you don't have to be famous or exceptional or wonderful just to, have something wonderful and fulfilling.
Hell yeah. I struggle with Pippin a lot. People can go check out my episode on musicals with cheese of it, but honestly, outside the ending and No Time at All, I really struggle with that show. Like the ending, I'm like, that ending is brilliant. I don't know if I love the journey to get to that ending. But that's fair. Oh yeah, is it my turn? Oh yeah, I'm cheating again. I'm being a dirty, dirty cheat. So my number 2 is a tie between The Prince of Egypt and Der Glockner von Notre Dame, specifically the 99 Berlin version of the Hunchback of Notre Dame on stage. So Prince of Egypt, everything that Emily said, wholeheartedly agree with it. This is specifically the film. The film's perfect, ages like fine wine, gets better every year. Now, Der Glockner von Notre Dame. Do any of you know about the difference between that and the American adaptation?
I've only seen the American version, so
okay,
you'll have to enlighten.
So I found this version a long time ago, well before the American version even existed. It starred Drew Sarich and was directed by James Lapine, and he also wrote the book for this new adaptation. It was done in Berlin, and the sets were incredible. They had like these big giant pillars and background projections, but it's like of stained glass. Everything was done like in shadows, and they kept the ending dark, but they didn't remove the gargoyles the way that the American one version does. So it feels a little bit more tonally varied. Everything in that production is gorgeous, and I think that they put a lot of money into both the orchestrations and the set design in a way that the American production was like, we'll just hire a bunch of vocalists and that'll be it. And it just kind of looks cheap. You guys should look up what that set looked like in Berlin, because my God. And they changed the vocals to be lower in the American version, where they were just kind of showing off how high the vocalists were in the Berlin. It's just better in Berlin. So that is the best. If you are looking for everything you loved in the Disney movie, but a little bit more mature and on stage, that is the one you'll want, because it is very, very effective. Yeah, that's it. All right, number 1, Emily.
My number 1 is Pippin. I love Pippin. I love the original cast recording. I remember seeing a community theater production of it when I was young, and it blew my mind. I think the older I get, the more it resonates. I think the stylization of it, the Fosse of it all, the the dance being intertwined so much in the storytelling and everything having that heightened vaudevillian feel. I really love. When I saw the revival, it was the tour because my friend Ryan Cantwell was conducting. And so we got to kind of go on the stage and kind of walk around and see it. Like, I can't even believe what's her name? Oh God, who played her in the revival?
Patina Miller,
No,
Rachel Bay Jones.
no, oh God, who played? Fuck you guys, I'm sorry. Who played
Andrea Martin.
Andrea Martin?
Yes, thank you. I was going to say,
Thank
I know
you.
you're talking about.
Jesus,
I was
I
going
was
to say
like,
Andrea
I
McArdle.
went
No,
through
that's
like
not it.
5 different Andreas in my head, and I was like, I can't catch Andrea Martin.
Too many Andreas.
Seeing
involved.
Andrea
Yeah.
Martin doing like aerial silks was
That was fun. I
mind-blowing.
saw that was Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's daughter, Lucy Arnaz.
Lucy Arnaz. Yeah. I've seen her in some community theater too.
She did that role on the tour, and it was great.
Yeah, but like, I think the score is so good. I think it's got that Fosse stank on it that kind of rubs kind of the rosy edges off of Schwartz's music.
Yeah,
that kind of makes
that
it a little more
edge.
subversive and dark. Exactly.
Mhm.
I remember when I was a kid, before it was even a twinkle in Broadway's eye, going, I want to play the leading player. I don't care that that's a boy part. I want to play the leading player. I would sing the leading player's part. I would imitate Ben Vereen every time. I just remember seeing that show. I guess I had to have been like 12 or 13. And I was like, I didn't know Broadway musicals or musicals in general could end like that. That could kind of, the ensemble the whole time. You're like, yeah, I'm into them. Yeah. And then by the end, you're like, scary. Yeah. So,
it's worth noting the pro shot is fantastic. The only problem major problem I have with it is that it kind of cuts out that, dark final twist at the ending. It's just like, they say, not a bad way to end a musical. Ta-da, bow. But yeah, otherwise it's a pretty decent
the infancy of pro shots.
Yeah.
And Spot the End Run King.
You got Ben Vereen.
Yeah.
But yeah, you hate Ben Vereen.
Yeah. So for me, Pippin is it's my number one favorite, not just for the nostalgia that it holds kind of on my heart, but I just think it's a genuinely really good show. And I like it a lot.
Okay.
All right, Christy, what's yours?
Well, since I always do these by, just what I enjoy the most rather than actual quality, my number one is Hunchback of Notre Dame. And I am actually going to shout out to the American stage version because it's, I just love that they took this score, which was great on the film, and just expanded it in a brilliant way. I mean, so often when you do that, they add a lot of extras. They add a lot of things that's like, I'm not sure if this fits with the score. I'm not sure if I like this. And yeah, there are some pieces like where like, yeah, you probably don't really need that. But otherwise, it's enhanced beautifully. I love that they brought more of the original novel into it, specifically restoring Quasimodo's deafness. And also, what else? Kind of bringing Jahan back away, and doing a lot of other things like that. So yeah, I think it's a really, it's something that was great on film. They made it better, and I just love it. I'm kind of sad that they're not doing it on Broadway, probably because that they have that big choir that they don't want to pay equity money to, but there's like regional productions that have like good local choruses that can do this for a couple of weekends. I think you could see that. And, I like that, some productions have actually, given Quasimodo to hard of hearing actors and then have the singer work behind him. I think that's a great way of interpreting it.
I like that we all have a different iteration of Hunchback on our lists.
Yeah.
Like we each have a different one.
Yeah. It's one of those that they've done it as several different ways, and there's good things and bad things about both. But generally it's a really good score. And, again, I've got to shout out the fact, since Schwartz was the lyricist, I love the way they use the Latin in this. Especially, if you are familiar with church music and the meanings, when you hear, Frollo singing Hellfire, and they're doing the Confiteor Deo, he's singing It's Not My Fault, and they're singing Mea Culpa, I have sinned through my fault. It's, it's a fantastic juxtaposition.
Love it.
I agree entirely. Wow, I didn't think my choice is going to be this controversial, but my number one didn't end up on either of your lists.
Okay,
I bet I know what it is.
My number one is The Baker's Wife.
Yeah,
The Baker's Wife.
I know. I'm sorry.
Meadowlark.
Yeah. I'm
surprised it's not Rags.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Rags. I will say that one.
It's one of those, little shows that, you pretty much it's one of those things that nobody knows about unless you know music theater.
Yeah.
I mean, Patti LuPone was in the original cast. Like,
Yeah.
I think this is actually my first Stephen Schwartz that I really found.
Mm.
I don't know how I found this, but I found this album early, so it's like real big nostalgia for me. I enjoy listening to it. Alan Armstrong in the original cast is wonderful. And of course, Meadowlark is one of the best musical theater songs ever written.
It's a good
Emily.
9-minute theater song.
No,
Hey,
it's a fun, it's one of those,
Meadowlark.
yeah, it's a fun journey song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those songs like Me and the Sky where it takes you through like, half a dozen different emotions, and it's a great actor showcase, and it also sounds fantastic.
Plus, it's really fun to have Patty be like, Meadowlark. Like,
Yeah.
Meadowlark.
Sing for me. Yeah, I can't do Patti LuPone, but you know how she sounds.
And the Meadowlark.
sing for me, my Meadowlark, sing
okay,
for
that's
me.
better.
That's good. That's Patty.
I can't do her doing any other song but that. But no,
Yeah,
I just
but,
sincerely think
she has that very rich, dark tone
Yes.
that unfortunately we don't hear a lot of in music theater right now because it's all about the belting,
The bright,
Yeah,
masky
the bright-
camber. Yeah.
yeah, the bright D's and E's and F's and everything.
I remember when in Patty's book, she was talking about her experience on The Baker's Wife and how struggled with it. But she also said, like, I wish more people would associate me with a song about a girl making a decision like Meadowlark than a girl singing about tears in Argentina. Which I'm like, oh. And I just love this musical, honestly.
Yeah.
Sincerely, if you haven't looked at it, it might not be your favorite musical of all time, but there won't be another musical that you'll watch and like, oh, it's just like that. Like, this is
Yeah,
incomparable in its
Yeah.
own way. I think it's a ton of fun and a good emotional to listen to. But what is your favorite Stephen Schwartz musicals, everyone? Why don't you leave us comments?
Yes, let us know. Are we
Who
right?
do you
Are
think
we
is the
wrong?
stupidest one? Like, is it Jess with the biggest
Yes,
one
come
with
in-
number one?
Come and attack our choices.
Yeah.
Jess out there with like passion? What the fuck, Jess?
I love that you pick like these little obscure shows that most people don't even think of, but you just love to death.
It's deep cut, Jess.
Oh yeah,
I
deep
don't
cut,
need-
deep cut, Jess. We love them.
I worry that people are like, oh, you're just trying to be a contrarian, but I'm really, really not. I just have bad taste, is what I'm saying.
No.
My wonderful dear friends, why don't you promote your stuff for the world to see? Christy, why don't you start this time?
Okay, I am on Musical Hell on YouTube and Facebook and Tumblr and Twitter. I have a Patreon. I have merch. I spend a lot of time talking about musicals, good and bad, and making snarky comments about the state of everything. So come check me out.
All right, it's great stuff. You got to check it out. And Emily.
Yes, I have excuse me, clear my throat. I have a show called Stealing Focus on YouTube, and you can find me at Emily A.B. Clark on Twitter, TikTok, Insta, and we also have a Stealing Focus Patreon, so check it out.
I am on both of those Patreons.
Yay.
All right. I have musicals with cheese. It exists. All right. We'll see you next time on the Dear Friends podcast. Bye-bye.
Dear friends, spill your woes to your musical family. Dear friends, they will take your questions and turn them into nuggets of wisdom and anecdotes in an otherwise cynical world. Dear friends,